Brian here with Solid Woodworks. So I got a question a couple weeks ago about how I make my natural wood kind of butcher block looking tops. So I'm going to show you the little process I do.
If I don't have enough scraps lying around the shop, I'll have to go over to my local hardwood store, which is called Austin Hardwoods in Santa Ana, California. I like to find a couple pieces of poplar, alder, maple, walnut, a little bit of everything, and try to get ones that are really cool grain marks and lines because it makes everything pop a lot nicer on the countertops when put together.
You want to get the flat side up against the fence when you're into your wood. Always have a push stick so you don't cut your finger off. Alright, now after you got all your wood ripped, what I do is put it through a planer, like we have here. So I'll cut my wood, say this is for an inch piece of wood, which it is. I'll cut the wood at 1 inch and 1/8. And I'll set the planer for 1 inch and 1/16. Run it throughout one side, like right here, and then flip it over, set the saw to, or the planer to 1 inch, and then run it back through again so you get both sides nice and neat. So I kind of have everything set up already. I kind of set everything up because when you start gluing them together, the wood glue can set on you pretty fast. So here we go. Once you got your wood, all you really need to do this is the clamps, wood glue, the little spacers like I said, and some time to let it set and dry. What I'll do is put a little spacer right here of some sort of wood on all of the clamps so that when this goes up against it, when you actually go to tighten the clamp down, it doesn't put a pressure dent from how hard you squeeze into your nice wood. It puts it into this wood. It's just a classic that you should always do.
I usually always start with a piece of maple on the end so that it won't break or crack or chip as easily since it's very hard wood. Also, if you can see, I line up one side as flat as possible with the excess going the opposite direction, so in the end I can cut the excess off and save wood that way.
So I just pulled off my big piece of natural wood glued together off of all the clamps I had set up here. I let it set overnight. Just kind of checking everything, kind of making sure that all of it is as close as possible. It's very hard to get everything, if you can see, there's a couple little ridges here, super duper flat with these kind of types of hard woods, especially maple. It's a very hard wood, hard to flex and move. With a smaller piece, you can definitely get it all super flat and be able to sand it by hand. But what I like to do with a big piece like this is take it to a drum sander. So I'll show you how that works. We're going to load it up in the truck and go over there. Once this thing comes through, run it through about 5 or 6 times on each side, and take away all those little grooves right there. Especially when I'm making a big piece like this, it's super helpful. And that's a drum sander over here at my buddy's shop, Westrup Woodworks. Saves you a couple hours of sanding. Alright, I have the countertop, my butcher block, with all these different kinds of wood back from the drum sander. I cut it to size. Now I'm just going to go over it real quickly, do a nice little sand on it. I'll use, right now I'm on 180, since the drum sander that sands it uses a pretty high grit, so it's already pretty soft. I'll go over it with 180 and maybe 220 grit. Kind of fill a couple little holes here and there, little putty marks, you know, just to make sure everything looks really clean. I'll sand the edges and ease the edges. and then she's pretty much ready for whatever kind of finish you want to put on her. For this job, the customer wants this kind of thing I've used called the Good Stuff, made by Emmett's. It's a food-safe, FDA-approved, oil that can go on butcher blocks, so you can use it as a cutting board. He wants that. I've used it in other sorts of applications, and it works really well. So here we go. We're just going to do a little bit of sanding to this. So as you can see, I always sand with the grain. When you sand against the grain, it gives you lots of scratches. Because I want this to look as clean and as nice as possible, I always go with the grain. What I just did is sanded off all the little putty marks I did. Just kind of cleaned it up real quick. I'll fill it out, see if there's anything I missed, any little rough marks. And I've already sanded the edge. Make sure that when you're sanding, you always keep the sander as flat as possible. You don't want to put it on an edge. You don't want the sander to be on an edge, because then you'll make a divot in your wood. Anytime you do that, whenever you put it on an edge, sure, you'll get the scratch or the mark or whatever you're trying to get out faster, but you'll compromise the wood and there'll be a big divot that you might not be able to, or somebody might not be able to notice, but you'll definitely be able to notice. You'll feel it. So what I'll do is do a quick little ease on the edge here, and then I'm going to come back and do what I call easing the edge. It just puts like a little mini kind of 45 on it, so that if you were to accidentally hit something or knock something right here, it doesn't chip off the wood. On this countertop, I put maple on both of the outsides, because maple is one of the strongest, obviously most price efficient woods, and I use that a lot. So we got some maple, walnut, poplar, and cherry all across here. So let me show you how I ease the edge. Clean it up, and just like this. That's all you need. So there we go. We got the edge nice and clean. You can barely see that little edge I put on. You see it here. You can see it right here, just a little bit. That's what will keep your edges of your wood from cracking off or breaking if you accidentally hit it really hard. Because it always wants to break off a square piece, but it has that little bevel on there, a little ease. It'll go real nice. So I'll wipe it real nice and clean. I'll set up some cardboard, a couple pieces of wood to set this on, and then I'll apply the Good Stuff. Alright, so this is the area I got set up that I'm going to be doing the staining on. Cardboard so you don't mess up the table. A couple 2x4s. You definitely want something a little tall so that when you have this thing propped up, you can easily get the sides. You want it propped up so nothing sticks to anything. That's why I have these underneath it. I'm going to bring my nice piece of wood over. That semi in the middle. What I'm going to go through is with a nice clean rag. Wipe it down. Make sure there's no dust on there. Obviously it gets pretty dusty in a wood shop. But when you're staining, you want no dust. Alright, Emmett's Good Stuff. Wasn't kidding. So a nice white clean rag, the way I do it, you just get a nice little glob of it in there. You want to spread a pretty good area at first. There we go. You can see already the color's popping. Rub this all in as much as possible. Alright, so that's one coat on one side. I'll let it dry overnight, flip it over, do a couple more coats. You want to let it dry for a couple hours. You can do a nice fine sanding in between if you'd like. Really fine though. And that's it. That is the good stuff.